In Peru, President Dina Boluarte sent a new bill to Congress to advance general elections to 2023, amid ongoing protests demanding her resignation. The electoral campaign in Ecuador comes to an end on Thursday ahead of sectional elections and constitutional referendum, which will take place on Sunday, February the 5th. And Israeli violence against Palestine continues to increase as warplanes bomb on Thursday several sites in the Gaza Strip, damaging buildings and an agricultural farm. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the TeleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. In Peru, hundreds of people marched in Lima late Wednesday in what is now the only meeting to the center of the capital after the Congress voted down another bid to advance elections to 2023. After 5 hours of debate, Peruvian lawmakers rejected a bill that would have advanced elections to December by 68 votes to 54 with 2 abstentions. The bill, mainly promoted by the rights, was rejected by left parliamentarians who asked for early elections and referendum for a new constitution in line with the claims for demonstrators in the streets. After the votes, hundreds gathered again in the streets of the country's capital city as the Peruvian people assured they will not rest until their demands are heard. After the Peruvian Congress failed to reach consensus once again, President Dina Boluarte sent her own bill to advance general elections to the legislative body, as she had previously announced. The bill submitted by the executive to the Congress proposed elections in October 2023 from a term of office which will end in 2028. Meanwhile, according to the initiative, the Indian parliamentarians will remain in their positions until 2026. However, the Peruvian people insisting Boluarte's resignations as they deem her government illegitimate and responsible for the thousands of deaths caused by the police repressions over the last weeks. Peruvian Prime Minister Alberto Tarola backed the presidential bill sent to the Congress to advance general elections to 2023.
Initiative in which we are proposing to move forward the general elections in the country for the year 2023, first round on the second Sunday of October 2023, and in this way following the message of the constitutional president of the Republic. Last Sunday, when she addressed the country, she pointed out the need to build consensus and not to leave empty space that could give rise to the debate of authoritarian and regressive projects that could pave the way for a constituent assembly that the vast majority of the country rejects.
Likewise, Peruvian Premier Electoral stated to the media that President Dina Boluarte will not resign from office because of a historical responsibility.
The president will not resign because of a historical responsibility and because we are consolidating a project for a country based on the desire that all the poors recognize. We all Peruvians want the country to be in order, in calm, and in peace. We believe that the position of the executive is absolutely responsible. It follows up on what the president announced to the country last Sunday, and we believe it is the most viable solution, and therefore we respectfully ask the Congress of the Republic to consider once again to debate holding early elections, which is the democratic solution that the country needs.
Campaign in Ecuador comes to an end on Thursday prior to the sectional elections and constitutional referendum on next Sunday, February the 5th. Social and political organizations reject the content of the consultation promoted by the government regarding possible changes to the constitution and are thus promoting the no vote. The National Electoral Council announced that over 5,000 prisoners without executed sentences will be allowed to vote before Friday. From that date on, the electoral silence will be enforced in the country, and therefore the diffusion and any type of information or publicity that induces voters to take position or the preference will be forbidden. The Brazilian Air Force began mobilizing on Wednesday in the Yanomami Indigenous Reserve ahead of a major operation planned for next week against illegal gold miners accused of breaking havoc in the protected corner of the Amazon. Brazil's President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva banned overflights of certain areas and authorized their forces to force suspicious aircrafts to land. The so-called illegal miners use aircrafts to reach the interior of indigenous lands that are difficult to access by land. According to Yanomami leaders, some 20,000 clandestine miners have invaded their territory, killing indigenous people, sexually abusing women and teenagers, and contaminated the rivers with the mercury they use to separate gold from sediments. From this reason, there is an open investigation from possible crimes against members of the Yanomami ethnic group. On Thursday, Minister of Education of the Group of 77 plus China will meet in Havana, Cuba as part of the International Pedagogic Congress 2023. This was confirmed by the Caribbean nation's Minister of Education, Elsa Velasquez, who explained that the meeting is an opportunity to analyze the issues of concern to all nations in the post-COVID-19 context. Velasquez added the occasion will also be an opportunity to address educational issues of interest to the member countries of the group and to consider the ties of cooperation and solidarity. This is the first activity of Cuba as a pro tempore president of the 77 plus China group. Pedagogy 2023 has been taking place since January the 30th and concludes on February the 3rd with the participation of teachers, researchers, trade unionists, and officials from some 20 countries. Let's take a short break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. On Thursday, the Russian government assured that it will continue on the battlefield until victory is achieved, following the Ukrainian government's unwillingness to engage in dialogue. In view of the Ukrainian government's unwillingness to resume peace negotiations with Russia, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov declared that the end of the conflict will be possible when the cessation of the insistence line of the West is observed. He added that no one is trying to pressure Ukraine to return to negotiations with Moscow, and recall that it was the Western countries that forced the Kiev regime to withdraw from the negotiations access just at the moment when there was a chance to end the conflict politically. President Vladimir Putin on Thursday attended commemorations from the 80th anniversary of the Soviet victory over Nazi forces in the Battle of Stalingrad. The Russian head of state led a withered at the Eternal Flame in the memorial complex to fallen Red Army soldiers in Volgograd, the current name of the city. Soviet victory in the Battle of Stalingrad was a major turning point in World War II, and it remains an immense point of pride for Russians, lauded as a demonstration of military power and a moral seriousness. While speaking at an event to commemorate the Soviet victory over Nazi forces at the Battle of Stalingrad, President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday that Russia is threatened by German tanks, and as it was during the World War II.
It is unbelievable, but it is a fact. We are again threatened by German Leopard tanks with crosses on their sides. Again, they are preparing to fight with Russia on the land of Ukraine, with the hands of despicable Hitler followers, with the hands of fighters revering Stephen.
The Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations reported on Thursday that at least 8 people were killed in a fire that swept through temporary housing for housing of construction workers in Crimea. The fire broke out overnight at the 2-floor building near the port of Sevastopol. The victims were construction workers from different Russian regions involved in the construction of a major highway across the peninsula. The ministry stated that the fire had been completely extinguished. Police sources said that the fire could have been caused by a short circuit in an electrical appliance, and according to local authorities, a criminal investigation for wrongful death has been opened. The European Union on Thursday lifted the immunity of the lawmakers target in a Bulgarian investigation into suspected bribery linked to Qatar and Moscow. The vote stripping Bulgarian members of parliament Mark Tarabella and his Italian counterpart Andrea Cossigliano of their protection from persecution followed a demand by Bulgarian authorities, who have 4 people in custody as part of their proof. The lifting of the impunity opens the way for the investigations to move forward with the questioning of the 2 parliamentarians. Meanwhile, Qatar and Moscow denied any wrongdoing in the case. The investigations into bribery, money laundering, and criminal organizations saw police raid several addresses in December, including those of European Parliament lawmakers, former lawmakers, and parliamentary areas. At that turned up over €1 million in cash. Lebanon's Executive Council called to elect a president of the republic in order to form a government with full powers who can deal with the financial crisis in the country. The organization emphasized the need to stop the looting of the people's money by the central bank and finance authorities after a devaluation by 90% of the national currency was announced on Wednesday. The Council demanded the devaluation of the national currency, which in the informal market has already exceeded the exchange rate of 60,000 Lebanese pounds per dollar and its negative repercussions on citizens' purchasing power. The locals hope home to the world's largest floating book fair that in the Lebanese capital, Beirut. The floating book fair provides the city's residents access to 5,000 different books titles in categories to suit all tastes and interests. The German NGO Good for the
company is owned by a German company, a German organization, a charitable organization called Good Books for All, GBA. And the idea originated from a group of friends who were bringing books to Mexico. They were taking books to Mexico, and then they decided, let's do this somewhere else. And the best way to do this, taking books to other parts of the world, is through a ship. And that's how we have the ships.
I am very happy that something important like this happened in Lebanon, and it is indicative of culture and science. My husband and I came, and my children chose the books they wanted.
We have more news coming up after the financial break. Don't go away. Welcome back. Japan, more than 200 flights were cancelled due to the biggest cold wave that the country has suffered in the last decades, leaving heavy snowfall in the most of the territory and also causing interruptions in rail and road traffic. According to the Japan Meteorological Agency, the phenomenon is causing minimum temperatures ranging from -12 degrees centigrade in Sapporo, north of the country, to -4 degrees in Tokyo and other central and western areas of the archipelago. Authorities expected the snowfall to intensify until Thursday, with some areas of the country recording the lowest temperatures in decades, as well as the possibility of snow in cities such as Tokyo and Osaka. On Thursday, Chinese Foreign Minister spokeswoman Mao Ning condemned her nation's role in the improvement of the United Nations after President of the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly, Salva Kurosi, said that it was necessary to carry out reforms.
Always believes that the reform of the Security Council should enhance the authority and efficacy of the Security Council, increase the representation and say of developing countries, and give more small and medium-sized countries the opportunity to participate in the decision-making of the organization and ensure that the Security Council can better function as mandated by the UN Charter. China will continue to play a constructive role in the discussions within the framework of the General Assembly on the reform issue.
Israeli warplanes bombed on Thursday several cities sites in the Gaza Strip pattern. The warplanes fired 3 rockets at a site in central Gaza, causing several damages in citizens' houses and properties nearby. Additionally, the warplanes also fired 2 rockets at other areas to the west of the city. Meanwhile, Palestinian authorities confirmed that Israeli military bombed a site north of the Bay-like town, as well as together with an agricultural land to the north and central of the strip. However, no casualties were recorded so far. Thousands of faithfuls gathered in the Martyr Stadium in Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of the Congo, to meet Pope Francis. This 86-year-old Argentine pontiff met with the youth leaders and youth prizes at the Martyr Stadium as part of the church's frontline work in the country with the largest Catholic contingent in Africa. The papal visit comes 2 weeks after the attack planned by the Islamic State terrorist group on a Pentecostal church in that province. The church's highest authority will also meet with victims of violence, displaced people, members of the cleric, and representatives of charitable organizations. Moroccan citizens demonstrate in front of the parliament to show their support for the Palestinian peoples and protest the normalization of Moscow's ties with Israel. The protests originate as Moscow and Israel have accelerated their cooperation in the economic, defense, and security fields in recent months. Moscow argues it is interested in developing its political, economic, and military relations with Israel, and in accelerating the transfer of technology to reinforce its military superiority over the Polisario and to protect itself from a possible Algerian offensive. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko completed a visit to Zimbabwe on Wednesday, taking with him a package of news agreements and impressions. Lukashenko was accompanied to Harare Airport by the President Emerson Mnangagwa, who said he feels special chemistry in his relations with the Belarusian leader. The official visit began on Tuesday and resulted in the face-to-face talks between the leaders, negotiations in the broad format, as well as a bilateral business forum. Bilateral agreements in the industrial, commercial, agricultural, mining, energy, and transport sectors are the highlights of the visit. And we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.